This video is going to be a film study / commentary on Jared Goff's role in the Lions' loss to the Bears in Chicago in Week 14. Some of the elements that I intend to cover here is Goff's play. Were his throws accurate? Were his throws on time? Was he holding on to the ball too long, etc.? Also have to mention Jaquan Brisker played a hell of a game. And at times there was pressure on Goff such that he's waiting for a route to develop or a route is trying to develop, and he just didn't have time. There were also some drops. To be honest with you, I don't think Jared Goff played very well, but the two things I mentioned prior to that point are real things, and I think the film will kind of illustrate it. Interestingly, I don't think the second half is Ben Johnson's finest moment. I expect more of him, and I'm sure if you're a Lions fan and you're listening, you do too. I don't think the second half was a great illustration of the Lions' offense and what it is, what we think it is, and what it's capable of. I thought the use of screens was a little bit too much. I thought there were too many screens called, particularly on third down. Now, that could be related to Goff's play. It could be related to the pass pro. Maybe there's a reason why Ben Johnson utilized so many screens. I think it's interesting to note that prior to this year, Goff had, in 4 games against the Bears, 960 passing yards, 8 touchdowns as a member of the Lions, not talking about his time with the Rams. So 240 yards per game, 72% completion percentage, and his QB rating in those 4 games against the Bears, 105, 121, 113, and 133. The Bears defense has certainly had a talent infusion at some key positions, drafting Jaquan Brisker, Tyreek Stevenson, I think is an underrated rookie corner, Kyler Gordon. The Bears, if you ask me, were uniquely prepared for some of the route combinations that the Lions showed, particularly 2 of them involving Jamison Williams. Basically what I'm saying is I think the Bears knew the routes that were coming. You did have a lot of third and longs, and I didn't think Goff was very good on some of them. But then there's 4 or 5 throws that I'll show you here where he sticks the throw in there in a tight window, and you're like, okay, this is the Jared. And up to halftime, I mean, to be honest with you, up to halftime, the Goff is 12 of 16 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception on Sunday against the Bears. Lions led 13-10. And you feel like they're in better shape than they were on the week before Thanksgiving when they needed the late second quarter flurry and the late fourth quarter flurry to overcome the Bears at home. It's a disappointing win, or disappointing loss, if you ask me, because Lions could have moved to 10-3 and put themselves in great position with the Eagles losing again. Maybe not the top seed, but certainly a home game was in play. Still is, perhaps 2, if you could have won this game and got to 10-3. Really poor and disappointing finish for Goff and Ben Johnson, particularly in the second half. Disastrous third quarter. 3 plays punt, 3 plays punt, 3 plays punt, and then a fumble right before the end of the third quarter. I think this is a difficult stretch for Lions fans, particularly the second half, to sit there and watch it. Since the Ravens game in Week 7, this team has turned the football over 10 times and had 2 wins that really could have gone the other way. Gone 2-2, the win at home against the Bears, and Week 13 road win against the Saints, where the defense falls apart in the second half. This time it was the offense. I don't think this team has played a complete 4 quarters of complimentary football. Some would say, well, you're not going to get that every week, Coach. I mean, if that's not your standard, if that's not your goal, what are you doing for the offense, defense, and special teams to perform well? In any case, let's get to some of the throws, some of the plays that Goff made or didn't make in some cases, and try to evaluate them. First possession here. 3rd and 10, he's going to be sacked. Yannick Ngakoue, he's always been a speed rusher, always been a good edge rusher against the pass at least, and in this case was able to get a win early against Decker, who I have seen not perform well lately in terms of pass pro. I think higher of him than the standard of play that I've seen lately, particularly against the Packers on a Thanksgiving Day. Fast forward some, we're not going to show every play, obviously, but we'll show a significant number, I think 18. Second possession, it's a 3rd and 10. Number of screens here was, to me, surprising. On third downs, it's a 3rd and 10. Unless I got my down and distance wrong. And they're throwing a screen. It ends up being dropped. Nothing wrong with what Goff did. I'm talking about the play calls here. Does it surprise you that you had this many screens? I guess the idea is, at minimum, get 4, 5, 6 yards, get the ball out in space to one of your best players. And if Gibbs catches his football, I think it's set up well. So it's not an example of something that Ben Johnson called as like, what the heck are you doing? It's just Gibbs drops it. And what it does is it creates this 4th and 10 where maybe you would have had a 4th and 2, 4th and 3, or perhaps Gibbs could have even got the first down. It's his second possession, like I said. Ball ends up being intercepted by Johnson. And, of course, a forced fumble. Great effort, if you ask me, by St. Brown and Jamison Williams. Now, I think the Bears know the routes. Jamison Williams is the point man, very similar to what you saw him run against the Buccaneers, running the deeper concept here. St. Brown, the shallow out, just a flood concept, if you ask me. And then Laporta is the intermediate route. It makes sense. Who is open here? This corner's doing a great job, if you ask me, of playing in between these two routes. Maybe you would say, well, Coach, I think you can throw the ball to St. Brown here to the sideline. 33 is going to be in position to at least react to it. He's not going to intercept it probably, but he's in great position to play between those two routes, if you ask me. I think the Bears did their homework. I think the Bears were very prepared for certain situations and or formations. This one, 4th and 10, bunch. They knew it wasn't run, obviously, and Ben Johnson's the only guy who would, even consider doing that. I think there's something to be said about the Bears being uniquely prepared for what the Lions like to do in certain situations. This is a third possession now. This is Lions offense gets it going. 9 plays, 66 yards, ends in a touchdown run by Gibbs. Another screen. This is a 3rd and 8. It gets 5 yards, and they convert on the next play. Donovan Peoples-Jones with a big reception. It's just interesting to me. I hadn't seen this many screens. Maybe the Bears don't play screens well. Maybe other teams had screened them a lot. There just seemed to be an inordinate amount of screens in this game called by Ben Johnson, or maybe it's a choice play for Jared Goff, and he chose to give it on the screen, or he chose to throw the screen rather than give it to the running back. That's not exactly what that looked like there. So that creates a 4th and 3 here, about 9 minutes left in the second quarter. And this is a great find. Peoples-Jones, DPJ, for 17 yards. Like I said, 4th and 3 over the middle. You can see Goff is already loading up to throw over the middle. Some attention being given to St. Brown here by, I think, Edmonds. And then Goff sticks that throw outside of Edmonds' reach in front of Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's able to break a couple tackles and try to get to the sideline, give you the end zone angle. I think this is obviously an excellent throw by Jared Goff. It goes without saying because of the situation, 4th and 3. Also because of the leverage that I think it's Edmonds had. Maybe it was Edwards. My apologies if I said it wrong. No, it is Edmonds here. And Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be right-hand side of our screen, moving to the left. You can see that Goff is looking here first. Comes back to the middle. Brilliant throw to Peoples-Jones in this situation. I don't think he threw the ball great all day. You can't say that he did with the numbers that he had. But nonetheless, that drive was ended in a touchdown run by Gibbs. Fast forward in a little bit, 4th possession here. You do get a nice conversion to Laporta. This is a 3rd and 2. I'm generally focusing on 3rd and 2 here. After this drive, however, which culminates in the touchdown pass to Josh Reynolds for 8 yards, the Lions offense just self-destructed in the second half. I don't know what has been said in the media or what has been said in press conferences. I just don't have time to check those things out. It was late Thursday night before I even really got a chance late Monday night before I even really got a chance to watch the All-22. And then take a look at it a little bit more here this morning, Tuesday morning. I thought this was going to be slant, flat, very similar to the interception that was thrown early in the game against the Bears at home. But it's not. Laporta's getting to a higher level of the defense, and then you're kind of getting this sit route by Brock Wright from the other side. Laporta sits down between the hashes. You clearly have a tight end, wide open up here at the top of the screen. I think that's Mitchell, but Goff didn't get there in the read. He didn't need to because he trusts Laporta on this 3rd and 10. Or 3rd and 2, to get 10 yards. Like I said, they're going to finish this drive with the touchdown to Reynolds. But here's another 3rd down at the Chicago 19, so just inside the red zone, about 1:20 left, I think, in the second quarter. Goff seems to have been really good in some of these late second quarter drives. You get motion across by Laporta, another screen. Now Gibbs gets it, but this is notable to me. I hadn't seen this many screens, particularly on third downs, so far in 2023. If I'm misremembering it and there's more screens that Ben Johnson has called, feel free to let me know. As it is, Gibbs gets 6 yards. 2 plays later, Goff is going to hit Josh Reynolds from the right-hand side for a touchdown. In breaking route, ball is already out. You can see here. When Goff is going well, he's got time. I'm not saying an inordinate amount of time, too much time compared to other quarterbacks. When he's going well, it's because he's got time to make his read, get the ball out quick. And these are examples, at least early, of him doing that. Even on the third down and the fourth down that I showed you earlier, the completion to Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't know what goes wrong in the second half. This is the second time in the last month that I have seen the offense go through this lull. I believe the other one was against the Bears, again at home before the Packers game, before the Thanksgiving game. I could be wrong, but this is fifth possession. You got Jameson Williams up top, 3rd and 6. I'm okay with going up top there with there being, no read. We're just taking the matchup. I'm fine with that. I think Jameson Williams is winning clearly. There's obviously a hold up there or an attempt at a hold. I mean, Williams is blazing past the corner so fast that you've got a hold that I can't imagine why or how the NFL can say, we're not going to call this. Am I complaining that the Lions lost because of penalties? No. But in this particular play, that's a win where he's being impeded. Having said that, Goff still figures out a way to underthrow him despite him being held. It's not been a great job, if you ask me, of Jared Goff getting the football to Jameson Williams in these situations. It's 13-10. Jameson Williams has won. There's multiple locations where this ball could be thrown. Goff has picked one of the two that could make it not work. Have to punt. Bears are able to tie it mid-third quarter, 13-all. And then the Lions are just unable to answer. 6th possession, about mid-third quarter. 1st and 10, you get a penalty on Sewell for a false start. And then, look, Jaquan Brisker played amazing. 17 tackles. This is going to be a brilliant play on what I think is a 1st and 15 incomplete pass off play action to Josh Reynolds from the other side of the field. Goff has got him in terms of Reynolds being open related to Johnson, who's covered him. But Brisker was just always in these lanes. It's like he had a great understanding of the route concepts. And even this ball, I'm not sure, is thrown in a location that gives Reynolds the leverage, being as he has Johnson beat, if you ask me. Brisker and Edmonds are able to bracket St. Brown sitting down on the hash. And then I think this ball is possibly a little bit underthrown, but it's a brilliant play by Brisker trying to get the interception. Creates a 2nd and 15. And this is one where St. Brown and him just don't seem to be on the same page. I have noticed this often recently. I would say probably 4 or 5 times in the last, really since the Ravens game. It seems like Goff and St. Brown, it's crazy to say this, are not on the same page. And they have been generally. I think Goff is correct here in throwing this ball out in front. Now, he's got a linebacker, Edmonds. You will get the end zone angle of this one. Who I think Edmonds is just stepping up to force someone to deal with him in pass pro to allow someone else to get a one-on-one. He's throwing the ball out in front of St. Brown. Whatever St. Brown is seeing, you would normally sit down in zone. I don't see any zone relationship up here for what St. Brown is running onto that would force him to sit down and stop on this 2nd and 15. St. Brown's one of my favorite players, but I don't think that lately he's played to the level that I expect of him. You feel free to let me know in the comment section. Maybe his stats show that he's playing better than I'm thinking, but I see moments like that where him and Goff just are not on the same page. If it wasn't a screen on 3rd down, this is a 3rd and long, by the way, 3rd and 15. Look at how much space there is for Gibbs. It's an easy completion. The Bears gave him this. The Bears gave Jared Goff this completion. There wasn't much in the second half, the third quarter particularly, that went well for this offense. That was one of the few situations where someone's wide open. And again, I think the Bears gave it to him. Fumble late third quarter, hands the ball to the Bears. Lions fans, I'm sure it ain't fun to watch this. Fields had hit DJ Moore on a fourth down that I'll deal with in a standalone video later to put the Bears up 19-13. Don't ask me, why they went for two, but they did. Late third quarter, about a minute left. Lions get the ball back. Second play of the drive here. Not sure what was going on between Goff and Glasgow, but nonetheless, turn the football over to a Bears team that has a 6-point lead. I feel like this team, this offense, if they played this game in weeks 1 through 4 or 1 through 5, somewhere in that range, not talking about the Seahawks game at home in week 2 because the Seahawks, for whatever reason, give the Lions problems. These things don't seem to be happening early in the season. I'm not sure, why they're continuing to happen more often. Turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, miscommunication, whatever you want to call it, between Goff and St. Brown, which is shocking because I think St. Brown's one of the most brilliant football players in the league for me, and I don't do player rankings. If I did do player rankings, I'd put Amon-Ra St. Brown in one of the top 10 players in the league, regardless of position. Nonetheless, after that fumble, Fields is able to scramble for a touchdown, make it 25-13. And don't ask me why the Bears are going for two again, because if they had kicked the extra point twice, they end up, I think that it ends up being 27-13 at that point. But in any case, Lions get the ball back early fourth quarter here, end up going for it from their own 34. This is a 3rd and 10 from the 25. And it's a great throw to Josh Reynolds, who's open here. Goff is looking in the middle of the field for Laporta. I feel like this is one of those situations he needs to be a little bit quicker moving off of Laporta, and this may end up being a first down. I have seen and heard some complaints about Reynolds, where his route ends up. I think Goff is just a split second late getting back over there. You can't blame him for being locked onto Laporta against the linebacker. But if you're going to throw it, whichever leverage side he thinks him and Laporta can read together, you got to throw it. I think at this point he's got to be off that read and already moving up top to Reynolds, who's going to bring this back and potentially get the first down. What I'm saying is when Goff has been off at times in the last month, he's been way off. We've seen interceptions. We've seen fumbles, whatever. This one, I think you're talking about 2 or 3% less efficiency in terms of time, and then just not enough juice on the football to get it there such that Reynolds can get the first down. It ends up being big, if you ask me, because on the ensuing play, which I'll show you here in a moment, or which I won't show you, Gibbs, right tackle, run, loses 4 yards. They don't get it. The Bears have the football, kick a field goal to make it 28-13. Still a two-possession game. Still me ranting a little bit about them going for two twice. If they had kicked the extra point both times, that field goal makes it 30-13. Really, it's over at that point with about 10 minutes left in the game. 10th possession, still a two-possession game, 28-13. You do get some signs of life here. This is Goff for Montgomery, 10 yards. It's another screen on a third down. I don't feel like Ben Johnson has been a big screen guy on third downs in 2023 or 2022. But feel free to let me know, if it's a higher percentage than I'm making it sound like. It strikes me as interesting. I mean, it worked on this play, for example, to get 10 yards and get the first down. But overall, throughout the course of the game, I would have preferred to see him throwing the ball downfield more. Who knows, maybe there's something going on, and there's a reason why Johnson was calling that. This is a drop. I mean, it goes down as a pass defense for Brisker. Give him credit for being there. I mean, Jaquan Brisker was everywhere. Nickel, played some inside linebacker. Here he is at too high safety. It's the patented, in route and then a higher or deeper in route from the same side of the field that Goff has, taken advantage of multiple times this year. The ball is there on time. Maybe it could be there an eighth of a second earlier, but that's, less than 1% efficiency is my criticism there on Goff. In a perfect world, you'd like it there a little bit earlier so St. Brown can catch it. I trust St. Brown, I'm sure you do too, in this situation to secure the football and get the first down. Unfortunately, unable to do so on a 2nd and 10. And it hurt because the very next play, still down 28-13, 6 minutes left, 6:05, something like that. Goff is going to take a sack. I don't feel like the pass pro has been as consistent lately as Lions fans would expect it. My own evaluation of the Lions offensive line, look, leading up to the Ravens game in week 7, I told Ravens fans and Ravens fans in my Discord, I was like, look, this is the best offensive line we faced. These guys can pass pro anything. And of course, the Ravens were, I think, able to get 4 sacks. And since that time, I don't think it looks like the same offensive line other than the road win against the Chargers. This is a 3rd and 10. Of course, the defense knows what's coming in terms of pass. There's really nobody open here. I'm not blaming players for this. I'm saying the Bears, to me, looked uniquely prepared to defend the routes that the Lions ended up running in most situations. Credit to their defensive coordinator and their players. If you ask me, they were able to be in the right place, force Goff to go to the 2nd or 3rd read. And in some cases like this one, by the time he gets there, well, no one's open, first of all, but by the time he gets there, there's pressure. In this case, it's a split sack between Dexter and Sweat. 4th and 17, incomplete over the middle to St. Brown. 5.5 minutes left, something like that. Ball's a little low. It's going to be a very difficult catch for St. Brown, but there is a lane here to get this throw in. Again, it's another situation where Goff has got a clean throwing platform. For my money, I'd like to see this ball be thrown more accurate. I don't know what's said on Lions Twitter about it. Haven't had any time, been traveling since Sunday night and Monday morning. So I didn't really get an opportunity to read some of the stuff. I like that they chipped with Gibbs, who's now off screen here. Give Goff a clean throwing platform on a 4th and 17. He's looking to the left here initially, kind of holding that defender to that side whose feet you can see. And to me, this ball should be thrown a little bit higher so St. Brown actually has an opportunity. One of the few situations I feel like the Bears' coverage element failed them on a 3rd and long, or in this case, a 4th and 17. Still get the football back, about 3:10, 3:12 left in the game. Sacks on consecutive plays, or 2 out of 3 plays, excuse me. This is a 1st and 10. Decker, to me, hasn't looked like the guy I perceive him to be recently. If you know the line, if you watch every Lions game live, I, of course, wasn't able to watch this one live because I was watching the Ravens game. Let me know what your perception is. I feel like Decker's a better player than we're seeing on film here recently, particularly in pass pro. Multiple guys on Sunday beat him. It's not like it was only one player beating him, like Rashawn Gary on the Thanksgiving game day where he had 3 sacks. 2 plays later, another sack to finish the game. At this point, I'm belaboring the point clearly. The Bears did a great job on defense being prepared, if you ask me. Their linebackers and Jaquan Brisker were brilliant in being in the right place in the coverage element. And then the pass rush was able to win such that Goff, when he didn't miss a throw like the 4th and 17 to St. Brown, and look, you're still looking at a very low probability of being able to come back at that time down 28-13 with 6 minutes left. There was plays out there that Jared Goff had, meaning guys open, or maybe someone was open a split second earlier, but by the time he got to them in the read, they were not. In some of those instances, you have to give credit to the Bears defense for covering things up. I do wonder if some of the Lions' pass concepts in certain situations have become predictable. And I really don't want to use that word because I think so highly of Ben Johnson and the way he coordinates the offense and the way he calls plays and forces defenses to stay balanced. This second half, does a lot of it look like Jared Goff's fault? There's a large percentage of it that is, yes. Hopefully I was able to show you some drops. St. Brown had one. Gibbs had one on the 3rd and 10. I really didn't like the screen, but I understand why Ben Johnson's throwing the swing screen out in the right flat to Gibbs. And if he catches the ball, he's probably going to get the first down, maybe more. But at minimum would set up a 4th and 3, 4th and 2, a manageable situation, maybe even at the outer range of field goal range. And then the pass pro. There was a lot more going on than just Jared Goff playing bad. And I did think he played poor. His numbers bear that out, clearly. 20 of 35 for 161. Very low yards per attempt. Lowest yards per attempt of the season, 4.6. Sacked 4 times, threw 2 interceptions. I mean, the one there at the end on the 4th and long, it's a throwaway if you ask me. He's just trying to make a play and get the ball out there. Too many things going wrong at the same time for me to absolve Ben Johnson of some of this. And if you're a Lions fan and you don't like me saying it, They always say attitude reflects leadership. I think that's true, but I also think performance reflects leadership. Your performance on the field as a player or as a unit reflects how you're being led, how you're being coached, how you're being instructed and taught, whatever words you want to use, hopefully all of them. I can't sit here and absolve Ben Johnson of all of the blame when the second half goes punt, 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 fumble on an exchange, by the way, and then downs, downs, and then the turnover at the end. The 7 drives in the second half, I think netted a total of 92 yards, something like that. My numbers might be a little bit off there, but I know that it went punt, 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 fumble, 2 turnovers on downs, and then an interception. And there's just no way to not assign some of the blame to Ben Johnson for having the team prepared. And it brings me no joy to say that, and it probably pisses you off as a Lions fan if you've listened this long. But as the leader of a unit, of a group of people, men, football players, you got to take ownership. I'm sure he has in press conferences, because just listening to Ben Johnson talk, he's the real deal. I think he'll be a head coach one day. This performance here is quizzical for me, or difficult to fathom, because I do think so highly of him. I think he's done a great job of putting Jared Goff and the offense in position to succeed. And on Sunday, particularly in the second half, he just did not do that. Appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of my thoughts throughout the video, the plays that I chose to illustrate how inconsistent and almost unrecognizable this Lions offense was in the second half against the Bears.